I have played a bunch of matches in the demo of Ashes of the Singularity II at this point versus other people and the AI, and I very much enjoyed the game. So I'm going to show you some of the most interesting and dynamic parts of these battles, while I talk about what is already good and what needs to become good in this game. I'm also going to share some new gameplay tips I have learned playing this demo, which is still online and will be until the 2nd of March, so make sure to come and join us, no matter if you prefer to play alone versus AI in Skirmish or against other players in PvP. Ashes of the Singularity II is still an RTS, even with limited building slots and no unit abilities, heroes, or ability to micro individual units to any particular level or purpose. And more so, it is an RTS game which doesn't reward being fast, but being smarter. Yes, there is still lots of clicking to get your eco in place, and you can get ahead a bit at the start if you are faster, but the size of the maps and the speed of gameplay and battles allows you to win if you have a good plan and know how to put it in action. Developers still have to find a way to reduce HQ rushing and base trades and automate a few things, like constantly building new resource mines in newly captured territories, but the game is fun. It is fun because you can imagine a strategy, like a huge air bombing attack on your enemy HQ, or trapping an enemy's advancing army between two of your own, or a flanking attack by a small force while the larger one is bait, and it works. You can turtle up even with a territory system, there are tools enough to do it, long range weapons and no limit on turrets as of making this video. One player made almost 1000 turrets in a 8-player free-for-all and won the match, in which it was just him and me at the end. This is what strategy games are supposed to be, to let you imagine something and make it happen in the field, not through being able to use your mouse and keyboard fast, but by understanding the game well enough to plan and execute that winning strategy. This is a beta version and many things have bugs or need quality improvements, like sounds, voiceovers, music, UI and pathfinding. Even the Fog of War type needs a change. The UF faction can spam infantry to overwhelm the PHC faction quickly, but there are counters to this one if you scout faster or unlock the necessary unit or orbital to help you. But what is most important is that this is a base for a fantastic game that many RTS players never got to play before, and certainly not at this scale, even if you used Supreme Commander or Total Annihilation as comparisons, because the army system, which is unique to Ashes, plays a key role in not just changing the gameplay, but setting the game apart. The last piece of the puzzle for me personally would be Tech 3 specialization, because right now, as you can unlock everything, there isn't a good feeling to it. I would much prefer if the players had to choose a strategy and specialize their Tech 3 for it, making them vulnerable to other strategies or enemy plans. On the other hand, this would make it a high-risk, high-reward type of gameplay that some among you might not like. Of course, we could ask the devs to make it a separate game mode or a setting in the multiplayer lobby, or just make it so that you can only unlock 50% of the Tech 3, or even crazier, split the factions into sub-factions according to Tech 3s. Do share your own ideas on how to improve the tech and research systems in the comments so we can all discuss them there. While the game as a whole still has a long road ahead to be very good and work properly in all regards, it has already managed to achieve its most important task, and that is to take you as the player from playing as a commander and transfer you into the shoes of a general. And it is that exact shift that I felt when I first played its alpha half a year ago that keeps me interested in it, that keeps me playing, and from what I can see from players and my viewers, many feel the same way. Now, one thing I only now understand about the game's mechanics is that while you do need and can use multiple unit recruitment buildings, they don't all produce units at the same time, but rather only the ones closest to the army that needs them do, and even then they don't produce at normal speeds, but get faster at producing units the more factories of that type you have in your backlines. I must admit it is a bit less than logical, as those other buildings are taking up a lot of building slots for an increase in production speeds that is set with diminishing returns for a single production building of that type at the front line. On the other hand, it is a design decision so that new units would arrive more quickly and from a single point to reinforce an army that is losing units as it fights and pushes forward. Before I understood this mechanic and its implications, I often ended up in battles where I was overwhelmed by the amount of units the enemy player was sending against me just 5 or 10 minutes into a match. Losing was hard, but also how I learned and adapted my own gameplay style. But I must admit that swarming enemy players with multiple armies of UEF infantry, which is streaming squad after squad after squad from a single barracks building, was terrifying to behold and also felt more than a little broken. One of the most powerful tools in both factions' arsenals are most definitely the orbitals, and to gain the most use out of them, you need to get better at choosing the right time and right place to use them. For example, the use of the orbital strike in artillery bombardment has proven to be most useful in 3 situations. First one is when defending against a mass of UAF infantry units that are bunched up and can be annihilated with a single strike from this kind of an orbital. I have been both on the giving and receiving end of such attacks against infantry spam armies, and it is a very effective counter. The other, equally effective and more often available counter is the Zeus unit of the PHC faction, which can melt UAF infantry squads in seconds, but you do have to both unlock the tech for them, recruit them into an army, and be able to use that exact army at the location that the UAF infantry spam army is coming at you. Now, the second use for an orbital strike is when attacking an enemy HQ, as you can take down its HP by about 1/3 just from this strike, making it easier to destroy it, especially when rushing into the enemy home territory with an army that is quickly losing its offensive capability due to enemy defenders. And the third use for the orbital strike in artillery bombardment is in pitched battles, to thin out enemy units, and sometimes, even more importantly, to take out exactly the enemy units which are the best counter to your own army's primary composition. Meaning, if you have a lot of infantry, you want to remove the mentioned Zeus vehicles of the PHC faction, or take down enemy ground mobile AA vehicles to attack them with an army specializing in gunships or bombers. And in that regard, it is a good idea to remember that if you are sending in a large flying formation directly into enemy territory for a deep strike behind enemy lines, that you want to turn off that army's replacement recruitment, so that new units don't die one by one as they try to reach the main army, which is too deep in enemy's lines already. The final 8-player free-for-all match I played was marred in technical issues, both at the start when players dropped from the game due to network problems, which the developers are hot on fixing, but also later with synchronization between the host and other players, and numerous other bugs which started happening after one of the players constructed something close to 1,000 turrets across about 1/3 of the map. If you want me to give you a breakdown of this whole free-for-all match, which lasted for 2 hours, let me know down in the comments. This was the only time I witnessed someone turtle up this much, and in advance no less. Usually players drop a lot of turrets when defending territories which have no army on station, but to cover all your territories in a forest of turrets was something else, and no doubt one of the reasons for the match's eventual breakdown. Nonetheless, I had so much fun playing this free-for-all game that I am beginning to think it is going to be my favorite mode to play in Ashes of the Singularity 2. Do let me know down in the comments what are your thoughts on the game's demo so far, and how do you feel about its unique style of RTS gameplay. For more RTS games and news, check out the cards on the screen and links in the description. Thank you for watching, and happy gaming!